Hi. This is my first YouTube video, and I feel like such a self-absorbed teen, but I've always been interested in psychology, so I decided that I would try to do a series of videos on mental health disorders. And so I figured it would be best to start with the most common one, or most well-known one, although I think it's really common anyway, but just to be sure. Depression. Now, depression's something that I've struggled with for a couple of years now, about 3 to be exact. And there are a lot of misconceptions about this mental illness as well as other mental illnesses. So, there are about 9 types of it, but I'm just going to be talking about major depressive disorder, which is the one that we most commonly think of when we think of depression. And this is what I've been diagnosed with, and it's supposedly recurrent and unspecified, so yeah, that's interesting, I guess. Now, major depressive disorder must last at least 2 weeks. What that means is if you're just having a bad day or a bad week and you think that you might have depression, it's could be the starting of depression, the forming of it, but unless it persists for a while, I'd say over 2 weeks, I'd say about a month or months, then you might have depression. It's not just a constant sad feeling, though. You can have happy moments and then feel perfectly fine. But then, say, when you're falling asleep, like this might happen to a lot of people. I've heard a lot of people talk about it like this. If you're falling asleep and you just can't find any semblance of meaning in life or something like that, because I've struggled with existential depression as well, like just questioning life and why we're all here. That might be something you need to look into. So, um, you might also be irritable. So you'll be grumpy and people will be bothered by your new attitude change, but it might not be just you're being rude. Maybe you have the best intentions, but you're just not feeling in a good mood for a while and you just can't communicate your feelings properly. You might feel hopeless, helpless, or stuck in a situation or in life in general, like you're not moving anywhere. You could have trouble sleeping, which this covers a wide area. For me, usually I sleep too much, but lately I've gotten a lot better at that because my depression's recurrent and right now it's in partial remission, I mean, sorry. So, um, I feel better, but when I don't have something to do, such as making this video, well, you see, I feel more depressed and anxious because I also struggle with some anxiety. Although I haven't had a panic attack in a while or a full-blown panic attack, but it's hard to, I think I have had one recently, but it wasn't so bad as other ones where I was shaking so badly I couldn't stand. Um, but that's a different topic. So yeah, you might sleep too much, too little, so insomnia, or you wake up frequently throughout the night, like 3, 4, 5 times. Although if it's less than this, but you stay up for a while, then that could also be something you struggle with. You could have night terrors. I, for one, personally struggle with nightmares, but not really that badly. But when I was younger, I used to be really, I couldn't sleep for like 3 hours on end. And I usually dream about monsters when I dream. So yeah, zombies used to be vampires and stuff too, and made up things that my friends and I talked about. So if you wake up and you're like terrified and you can't get back into reality, you might struggle with nightmares. And you have physical symptoms such as sweating and shaking when you that happens. You could have difficulty waking up, which I struggle with a lot. My mom always has to yell at me to wake up for like half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour. It just takes a really long time to wake me up. It's really difficult because my eyes hurt and I just can't get out of bed, simply put. And you might also feel really tired throughout the day, even though you've gotten 9, 10, 11, 12. Heck, you could even get 18 hours of sleep like I have sometimes. And sorry if it seems like I'm talking myself too much. It's just a really relatable topic for me. And it makes it more personable for you guys to understand. And it helps you understand how things work, I guess. So yeah, I've slept for a really long time. But that's gotten better lately. So yeah, you still feel tired no matter what you do. You could have trouble falling asleep in the first place. Um, like I said, with having depressing thoughts at night or existential depression type of things going on in your head. Just thinking about life far too hard. You could have appetite changes, which would mean eating too little, eating too much, calorie counting because you're obsessed with your weight, or that could lead to another diagnosis. Um, you could have aches and pains. I used to have these a lot, but in the past year or so, they've diminished to next to nothing actually, or nothing at all really. You could have lack of concentration like I have, which I might actually have ADHD. My doctor's not sure. But anyways, I take medicine for my concentration because you don't have to be thinking about sad things all the time when you can't concentrate or like daydreaming of suicide or anything like that. It could just be that you're not interested in activities that used to be before. Your mind's just not in the game. Like it could be because you're tired because you have a lack of sleep. Um you could also have it's kind of a nickname weekend depression, which is what I was discussing earlier. That's when for the weekend, you feel depressed because you might live alone and you don't have anyone to talk to really. So you are basically all on your own and you don't have anything to do, like work wise. Um, I have problems with that because whenever I get home from school and then I like, there's too much freedom for me. I don't know what to do and I just feel lonely because I only live with my mom and she's not the best conversationalist because she tends to rant about family problems that we have and nag at me about certain things that all teenagers do, but to a severe extent that she nags about it. You could also, on the subject of appetite, you like junk food, you binge out on junk food, which could also be another diagnosis, but that could be when you're just feeling bad and it's not too occurrent. I don't know, it's still a problem. So, you could have nausea when you think of eating, which goes along with the um lack of appetite or too much appetite because you've been hungry for so long that you don't want to eat anymore. That's been a problem since the school year started, and it might be a part of stress for me. You could have poor self image or confidence issues, or body dysmorphia, which is another thing, but it can also go along with depression and other such things. Yeah, low self esteem is a very common theme in depression. People with depression oftentimes don't like themselves very much. They just feel like they could also feel like they're a guilty person who's worthy of punishment. And that could go along with self harm, which I used to engage in a year ago, actually over a year ago. But now I barely ever have the urge to do that. And when I do, it's not very extreme. It's just a passing thought, like, oh, if I used to self-harm, if I still self-harmed, I would self-harm right about now. But it didn't really help me much, so it was somewhat easy to quit. It only lasted for about half a year of doing that. Um, you could have social anxiety, another thing, or severe shyness because you feel like you're incompetent and other people look down upon you with the self-image thing. You could withdraw from your friends and family, so you isolate yourself and don't talk to much of anyone because you don't want to drag them down, but then at the same time you might hate being alone. Um, and then the big one, suicidal thoughts. Sorry, I'm not good at talking today. Suicidal thoughts, that's a big one. If you're having suicidal thoughts, you really need to talk to someone, even if they're not too severe, because they could become severe. Although I don't want to say they will, but in due time it's possible and they're serious things, so you need to get that help with that. I've had problems with that before too. And another thing that I struggle with, anhedonia. And that's, I don't know if that I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it's lack of interest for activities that you once were really into, and everything just seems kind of pointless. That's like existential a bit. So the pleasure just gets sapped out of your life. You don't enjoy things. And you could also slow down in your movements, and it might take you a long time to do things. Sometimes I get made fun of for that, but that's been better lately too. So yeah, that's about it. This was a longer video than I thought. And I wrote down all the things I was going to say, so yeah, because lack of concentration and just plain forgetfulness. So thanks for watching, and bye!